initial CBA offer, calling it a slap in the face. Yeah. Our collective bargaining operation is a slap in the face and the polar opposite of player union requests. Wait a second. The polar opposite, that means if you ask for $1,000, they want you to pay for $1,000. See what I'm saying here? If they want to give you $5,000 in benefits, the polar opposite would mean they want you to pay $5,000 in benefits. I don't think they're using proper.
The WNBA's collective bargaining agreement negotiations have reached a contentious phase, with several prominent players expressing significant dissatisfaction with the league's initial proposal. The ongoing discussions highlight fundamental disagreements between players and management regarding compensation, working conditions, and revenue distribution. Multiple high-profile athletes have characterized the league's opening offer as inadequate and disconnected from player expectation. The union's assessment suggests that the proposal fails to address key concerns that have been developing throughout recent seasons, creating tension between organizational leadership and player representatives.
All this season has proven is that there is a professionalism problem in the league, there's a refereeing problem in the league, and there is a problem in the league that when Caitlin Clark doesn't play, nobody watches. So you're already getting paid. Your teams are already losing money, even more money because of the charter flights. They're losing more money because a lot of teams are building facilities. The expansion fees are not nearly making up for that, being split between those teams, because you only get.
Sabrina Ionescu and other player association leaders have publicly criticized the negotiation process, describing the initial terms as substantially different from what players had anticipated. This disconnect has prompted organized responses from union representatives who feel their priorities have not been adequately considered. The negotiations encompass several critical areas beyond basic salary improvements. Players are seeking enhanced travel arrangements, including charter flight access that would improve both comfort and scheduling flexibility. These travel improvements represent significant operational changes that would require substantial financial commitments from team ownership.
Hey, $5,000 in benefits. I don't think they're using proper language here. But they are using proper WNBA mentality. Less than a week after Satu Sabali called the league's initial proposal a slap in the face, WNBA president Nika Aguabilla and Vice President Breanna Stewart are weighing in on the new CBA. Now, you got to understand, Stewart was involved in starting the Unrivaled League, which is there in case the WNBA folds.
Roster expansion represents another major negotiation point, with players advocating for larger squad sizes that would provide more opportunities for professional employment within the league. This change would affect both competitive dynamics and organizational budget planning across all franchises. Revenue sharing arrangements have emerged as perhaps the most complex aspect of the negotiations. Players are requesting meaningful participation in league revenue growth, particularly given recent television contract improvements and increased fan engagement metrics. The financial sustainability discussion reveals fundamental tensions about league economics and historical investment patterns. Ownership groups have maintained significant financial commitments to league operations over multiple decades, often operating at substantial losses while building infrastructure and market presence.
Is because you only get 42% of the expansion fees. The TV deal, as much as people want to say, oh, there's a $200 million TV deal, lads, the WNBA owns 42% of the league. That TV deal is realistically $80 million a year. It's not $200 million a year, it's $80 million a year. Because the NBA gets $80 million a year as well for funding this league for 20 years. If you guys agree this is crazy, subscribe. We are trying to hit 52.75k by the end of the day. But I'm pretty much finito anyway for the day now, thankfully. It's my last video recording. But I saw
current revenue generation, while improving significantly due to increased fan interest and media attention, still faces challenges in offsetting accumulated operational costs from previous seasons. The league's financial trajectory has shown positive trends, but questions remain about sustainable profitability and investment recovery. Player union leadership has emphasized their desire to participate in league growth rather than simply receive fixed compensation increases. This perspective reflects broader trends in professional sports where athletes seek partnership-style relationships with organizational management rather than traditional employee arrangements.
In case the WNBA folds. So somehow, someway, she is involved in negotiations. Now, that seems like a conflict of interest. That seems like something that shouldn't happen. But, of course, Stewart because she can do this, said, no, it's not. Oh, okay, it's not? Great. Oh, it's not. Wait, if you say it's not, then it must not be. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't.
The negotiations occur against a backdrop of unprecedented league attention and fan engagement, largely driven by emerging stars who have elevated the sport's profile substantially. This increased visibility has created new revenue opportunities while also raising expectations for improved player compensation and working conditions. Television contract improvements have provided concrete evidence of growing league value, giving players leverage in arguing for enhanced compensation packages. The media deals represent tangible proof that the sport's commercial potential has expanded beyond previous projections.
What I saw it is here. The first thing must be done is eliminate as NBA subsidies. That the NBA owns 42% of the league. It's not happening. Like, the thing is now is the NBA are going to be pocketing $80 million a year. So the NBA have lost, in its totality on the WNBA, from keeping it afloat, they've probably lost about $300 million. So they're going to be pocketing $80 million directly a year from this deal. So the NBA...
Charter travel discussions reflect both practical and aspirational elements of player demands. The travel improvements would address scheduling challenges and physical comfort while also representing symbolic recognition of the league's professional status and player value. The roster expansion proposal would create additional employment opportunities within the league, while potentially improving competitive balance through deeper talent distribution. This change would require coordination between union priorities and organizational budget planning across multiple franchises. Revenue sharing negotiations involve complex financial modeling and risk assessment from both player and ownership perspectives. The arrangements must account for both current financial realities and projected growth scenarios based on recent positive trends.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, and I honestly don't care because I don't care about any of this. What I care about is that Caitlin Clark gets back on the court. We'll get into that in a minute. We'll get into that in a second. But let's go on, all right? Let's go on. Breanna Stewart and her crew are mad. They're calling out the league. That was the hardest part. It's like we're not even talking about the same thing right now.
Historical financial losses represent a significant factor in ownership decision-making regarding revenue distribution. The accumulated investment in league development over multiple decades influences current negotiations about profit-sharing arrangements and future financial planning. Player education about business operations has become an important element of the negotiation process.
So the NBA, in 5 years, by 2031, realistically, the NBA will have broke even on the WNBA, and then will, for the rest of time, start pocketing $80 million a year, $80 million plus a year. So, it's one of the great, best long-term investments of all time. It's going to make the NBA billions and billions and billions of dollars. Do these players know they've no leg stand on if Caitlin's not with them at the table? Yeah, it is. Look at Spies here in the NBA is no longer a subsidized league. The NBA owns 42% of the league, and that's...
Public statements from player representatives have maintained focus on long-term league development rather than purely short-term compensation improvements. This strategic approach emphasizes partnership between players and ownership in building sustainable growth. Media coverage of the negotiations has generally supported player positions while acknowledging the complexity of league financial management. The increased attention reflects broader public interest in professional women's sports and workplace equity discussions. Comparative analysis with other professional sports leagues provides context for player demands while highlighting unique challenges facing women's professional athletics. The WNBA's development trajectory differs significantly from established leagues with longer revenue histories.
Same thing right now. We were talking about X and O's at this point and completely different sides of the game. Okay, that's cool. All right. Oakwood Mikey noted the players aren't just seeking better pay, but also meaningful changes, charter travel, expanded roster, and better revenue share. Really? You're going to get revenue share when you're losing money? I've always said this, and I've never understood, except I have understood. Everybody wants revenue.
Union solidarity has remained strong throughout the negotiation process, with player representatives maintaining unified positions on key issues. This cohesion strengthens bargaining power while demonstrating organizational maturity within the player association. The potential for work stoppages adds urgency to finding mutually acceptable solutions. Both sides recognize that disrupting competitive schedules would damage recent momentum and fan engagement growth that has benefited all stakeholders. Recent statements from prominent WNBA players regarding upcoming collective bargaining agreement negotiations have raised concerns about strategic communication and potential labor conflicts. Breanna Stewart's comments suggesting that negotiations will become spicy highlight growing tensions between players and league ownership regarding compensation and working conditions.
It's 42% of the league, and that's kind of how it works. They fund quite a bit of it. They've invested. They pay the money to own a certain percent. But this is not the way. Learn from the NFL and the NBA. Don't overplay your hand too early. Like they threaten lockouts in the summer. Like, we can be honest. Dejanay and Angel Reese, they were threatening lockouts on a podcast. Like, what are we doing? Like, this league has a professionalism problem. You had...
The public nature of these statements represents a departure from traditional negotiation approaches, where parties typically maintain confidentiality during preliminary discussions. This early positioning may signal underlying frustrations with previous negotiation outcomes, or attempts to generate public pressure supporting player demands. Historical context reveals that previous CBA negotiations have resulted in limited gains for players relative to their initial demands. The league's ownership structure and financial realities have constrained the organization's ability to meet player expectations regarding salary increases and benefit improvements.
Never understood, except I have understood. Everybody wants revenue share, but what if the league's losing money? Do you get revenue payback? Like, you're making $80,000, let's say, and the league loses 26, 28, 30 million a year, maybe as much as 40. Now, however many players are in the WNBA, divide that by, I don't know, 40 million. Do you have to pay that money back? I mean, what are you only asking for proceeds? You're not invested. You're not truly invested.
The current television deal structure complicates player leverage during negotiations. While often reported as a $200 million annual agreement, the actual distribution reflects the NBA's 58% ownership stake in the WNBA. This ownership arrangement means that approximately $80 million annually goes to the WNBA directly, with the remaining portion supporting NBA operational costs and investment recovery. Financial sustainability concerns continue to challenge the league's ability to dramatically increase player compensation. Most franchises operate at losses even with increased revenue streams, and additional expenses like charter flights and facility improvements have further strained organizational budgets. The NBA's long-term investment in the WNBA has exceeded $300 million over the league's existence. The current television deal represents the first opportunity for the NBA to recover these investments while generating positive returns. This financial reality influences ownership perspectives during compensation negotiation.
You had union reps threatening lockouts on podcasts with non-union reps. You had non-union reps, a player that is not in the union and is not even in the meetings about CBA negotiations, saying, if you don't pay us what we want, we gonna sit out. You have one of the 7 richest players in the league in Angel Reese already, and 7 might be an understatement. Let's be real.
Charter flight implementation has created additional financial pressures for franchises while improving player working conditions. These operational improvements require sustained funding that impacts overall salary cap considerations and organizational budget allocations. Expansion franchise fees provide revenue influxes but are distributed among existing teams rather than directly supporting player compensation increases. The limited revenue sharing from expansion further constrains available funds for salary enhancement. Player statements regarding potential work stoppages have emerged from various sources, including podcast appearances and media interviews. These public threats may indicate internal union discussions about leveraging labor actions to achieve negotiation objectives.
Only asking for proceeds, you're not invested, you're not truly invested. See, unless you're truly invested, none of this makes sense. Now, this isn't going to make sense to most of you because you are of the ilk that athletes should get. But see, ownership, particularly those of the NBA, have put their money and lost their money in the WNBA. Now, because of Caitlin Clark, they have the opportunity to make a little bit of money. Now, this isn't just this year. This is going way back 27 years of losing money. Now, these ladies.
The financial disparity among players creates complex union dynamics during CBA negotiations. High-earning players with significant endorsement income possess different priorities compared to minimum salary players who depend entirely on league wages for financial stability. Alternative league options like Unrivaled and Athletes Unlimited provide additional playing opportunities that could influence work stoppage decisions. These platforms offer income alternatives during potential lockout periods, though at significantly reduced compensation levels compared to WNBA salaries.
Might be an understatement. Let's be real. What players in the league have the most money? Sabrina's probably the richest player in the league in terms of revenue got from basketball. Sabrina's probably made the most that are currently playing. Stewie probably next. Because again, Stewie was getting paid $1 million a year to go play in Russia for a while. Stewie. Then you probably go Caitlin Angel. I would say Caitlin's makes more than Angel, but it's not that much. But at the end of the day, you've got multi-millionaire players.
International playing opportunities in China, Mexico, and other markets could provide income sources during labor conflicts. However, these options typically require extended travel commitments and may not accommodate all displaced players seeking alternative employment. Union leadership communication strategies have drawn criticism for their public nature and timing. Traditional labor negotiations typically maintain privacy during early stages to preserve negotiating flexibility and prevent premature position hardening.
Now, these ladies want a greater profit off of revenue that these people, the ownership of the WNBA, put up their money for. Breanna Stewart hasn't put it up jack shit. Nothing. Zero zip. Caitlin Clark hasn't put up jack shit. Nothing. Zero zip. So why should they get any revenue share? Hey, look, we'll give you revenue share when there's revenue. Right now, there's not revenue. Right now, there.
Conflict of interest concerns have emerged regarding union representatives who have financial stakes in alternative leagues. These relationships could potentially influence negotiation priorities and strategies, though union leadership has disputed these characterizations. The professionalism standards within the league have faced scrutiny following various incidents throughout recent seasons. These concerns may impact ownership willingness to dramatically increase compensation without corresponding improvements in league operations and player conduct.
You've got a multi-millionaire player saying, oh, if you don't pay us what we want, we're going to sit out, when there are players in the league that if this league folds, it's not only it's going to affect their ability to literally pay their rent. It's going to affect their ability to put food on the table. It's going to affect their ability, because if this league stops, actually, realistically, it won't. It won't. There's summer leagues. These players they really wanted, they'll go play in Mexico. If the WNBA lockout happens, I have a feeling Unrivaled will go longer.
Viewership dependency on specific players, particularly Caitlin Clark, has become apparent through television ratings and attendance figures. This reliance creates both opportunities and vulnerabilities for players seeking leverage during negotiations. Ownership composition includes numerous NBA franchise owners who possess extensive experience with professional sports labor relations. These individuals understand negotiation strategies and have resources to withstand extended work stoppages if necessary. The timing of CBA expiration relative to league growth trends will influence negotiation dynamics. Players may benefit from short-term agreements that allow for renegotiation as revenue streams continue expanding rather than locking into longer deals with current financial constraints.